it turns out taking the full weight of an entire adult human on the back of your head hurts. I'm also very lucky that could have broken my neck. But I'm here. My apologies to those of you who, well, are disappointed with my continued living. Anyway, enough about being a pro wrestler. Let's talk about something somehow even more stupid. We're going to be talking about the rise of asymmetrical horror games, and I felt that due to the subject matter, it would be thematically appropriate to show off one of the pride and joys of my collection of Nerd Tat, my replica blade with the little sort of handsome red lining. However, fuck that. We are in fact introducing a better puppet, not a puppet, my new co-host, Buckets. Say hello, Buckets. Say hello, Buckets. There we go. Whoa. Buckets, what's in your mouth? No, look here, what's in your mouth? Monster in my pockets, I knew it. Are you anxious? Do you really think eating monster in my pockets is an appropriate way to express that angst? No, it isn't. Spit them out. Spit them out. Good bird. So, we're going to talk about horror games. No reason to be afraid. They're just video games. One of the games is Puppet Master.
If you can count on the game industry to do anything, it's to take a really good idea and comprehensively ruin the ever-loving fuck out of it by doing it again and again and again, like a child who said something that made the grown-ups laugh and thinks repeating it ad nauseum will get the same response. God, children are stupid. But anyway, be it Souls-likes, Metroidvanias, or the dozens of games that copied Vampire Survivors within weeks of its release, the extremity and near immediacy of the bandwagoning in this fucking industry ensures that an original concept becomes an old trick within months through sheer force of market saturation. There is one type of game of such a specific style that the saturation is both more obvious and way more distasteful. It's also fucking annoying on a personal level because it involves one of my favourite types of entertainment, shitty 80s horror movies.
I beg your pardon, what kind of movies?
Sorry, schlocky.
Thank you.
Asymmetrical multiplayer is a great thing. Like many others, I was a huge fan of Left 4 Dead. I'm one of the 12 people who loved Singularity's monsterific multiplayer, and I actually appreciated Gears of War Judgment for providing the same. I'm also a massive fan of 80s horror franchises, from Friday the 13th to Child's Play to The Evil Dead, which brings us to the ongoing flood of asymmetrical multiplayer games based on exactly those franchises. Due to the general nature of the movies being adapted for games, I'm going to use asymmetrical slasher as a term, differentiating them from similar asymmetrical games. Yes, something like Evil Dead isn't really a slasher film per se, but look, just go with it. It'll make summarising this shit easier. So yes, let's talk about the problem with asymmetrical slashers, games in which some players are humans and others take the role of iconic horror antagonists. What a great idea. There's just one problem. Too bloody many. And they keep coming. And as someone who's always wanted some of these franchises to get modern video games, seeing the same old shit for every single one has long since gone from exciting and novel to depressingly rote. That seems to be becoming the model, and I mean like capital T, the model. We got Friday the 13th, the game, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the game, Puppet Master, the game. Oh god, there was that fucking Predator, the game as well. Do you remember Predator, the game? You're best off not thinking about it. Not to mention Dead by Daylight, although we will be talking about that later, so yes, to mention Dead by Daylight. It's put horror icon after horror icon after horror icon in its game. At least it's confined to one game, though that itself represents a problem, which we'll get to soon. But fucking hell, by the time we've gotten to the announcement of a Killer Klowns from Outer Space asymmetrical horror game, oh, is nothing sacred. I gotta beg the industry, stop. Just please. I'm already bored of this shit. And I wouldn't call all of these games Dead by Daylight rip-offs per se, but it's clear the industry's looked at that and thought, yes, let's just keep doing games in that vein, please. And I know a shitty video game industry trend when I see one. And even though the situation is not quite dire yet, please let's nip this one in the bud. My taste in movies is well known. well, my lack of taste. So every time one of these games is announced, my social media replies are full of people excitedly telling me about them. But sadly, these folks know not that my excitement is deader than that bloke who Jason punched the fucking head off of in Jason Takes Manhattan.
Give me a shot. Motherfucker.
More like Jason Takes Man's head off. How can I be excited for just another messy, slapdash, content-poor, asymmetrical slasher among the growing pile of messy, slapdash, content-poor, asymmetrical slashers? The novelty is gone by now, and I'm actually surprised there's anyone left who still finds these things exciting. I adore some of the licenses being exploited here, but I can't bring myself to be hyped for any of them because I'm fucking bored of them. Oh, and I mean it when I say they're slapdash. Given over to small studios, some of whom are good, and some of whom are hacks, but all of whom are making mostly buggy, visually unappealing, janky products here. It's as if the fact the movies they're based on all kinda suck is being used as an excuse. However, a lot of those movies suck in an entertaining way, whereas a lot of the games just plain suck. And watching a sub-B grade horror movie is a lot more fun than having to actively play through the video game equivalent of one. This is exemplified by the recent release of Puppet Master, the game, a freemium game of such low quality as to truly encapsulate the kind of F-tier movies produced by Full Moon Studios. I won't tear into it too much here because I've been told my review already made the developers sad. Speaking of which, to all the fans who've been sent to harass me from the game's Discord server with demands I go there and debate the developers, fuck off! Firstly, I'm not going to justify my opinion on a game because that is literally what the review is there for. I'm not going to explain my reviews because they explain themselves. That's what a review does. Secondly, I would hope the developers have better things to do, like, you know, finishing the game they released. No developers should be wasting time on the internet with some random bitch when they've got DLC to justify charging for. Anyway, the cynicism of that threadbare, imbalanced, broken, clearly underdeveloped game which sells a single character skin for $8 really demonstrates how poorly these things are being thrown together to make an easy nostalgia buck. It was when Killer Klowns was first announced that I realised I was truly done with this shit. Feeling my initial excitement at a Killer Klowns game drop dramatically and instantly the second I saw it was just another multiplayer game was notably saddening. It's like when I see a promising looking game and find out it's a PSVR exclusive. I think Killer Klowns is a brilliant bit of schlocky fun, and I think the idea of a Killer Klowns game is hilarious. Or I would have done, if it didn't simply sound like developers were scraping the barrel to put another intellectual property on the same old factory production line. I can just see it now. What haven't we done yet? Fucking ghoulies? Oh, goblins? We're at a point where these games are basically the Funko Pops of horror. Why can't we have something else? Anything else? Why can't we have Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees stalking us like Nemesis in a terrifying single-player campaign? Why can't Ash battle the evil dead in a first-person gory shooter that plays out with the gloriously gory bombast of Doom Eternal? Hell, those two pitches were admittedly derivative, but at least they were derivative in a new way. I mean, I've genuinely thrilled myself with that Evil Dead pitch, a lot more than I was thrilled by the bandwagoning mundanity we got instead. The lack of creativity involving horror icons that could feature in a multitude of game types is actually frigging tragic. Some of it doesn't even make sense to me. What is it about Killer Klowns from outer space that so lends itself to the tired old asymmetrical slasher formula that it couldn't have been something fresher? It's hardly surprising so many of the games are lacking in content and depth when they're being made regardless of whether the license being used has enough relevant content to support the concept in the first place. Some games feel straight up inappropriate, or at least uncomfortable. Texas Chainsaw Massacre's human players are informed straight away that they've been full-on tortured and starved by the antagonists prior to the start of the game, the results of which manifest as actual gameplay mechanics. It's just fucking grim. And while it accurately reflects Texas Chainsaw, actually playing as a terrified, brutalized, malnourished teenage torture victim in an otherwise silly online cash-in is just sort of unsettling. In a story-driven single-player game with a tone and atmosphere that matches the horrific scenario, you know, a game that's earned it, absolutely, that is something you can do well. I mean, I'm a fan of Outlast after all. A game's premise can be dramatically modified by the type of game it is, and it speaks volumes about the disregard some studios have for their own art form that they believe any property can be effortlessly plugged into any genre. How very gauche. For some reason it was decided that this is what licensed horror games are now, and it is all that they can be. Dead by Daylight was such a hit that the game industry's answer was to simply keep doing it, and ensure each new horror IP getting a surprise video game announcement is less and less interesting, because fundamentally it's going to be the same fucking game with a reskin. We should indeed make sure to reference Dead by Daylight, itself an interesting case of saturation. I first played Dead by Daylight way back in the day when it was in early access. The grandpappy of them all, it started out with some original killer characters, but over time has pit human players against villains all across horror media. At first it was cute, but I returned to the game years and years later to find a mountain of DLC containing everything from Jigsaw to Pyramid Head. It was an overwhelming and expensive thing to look at, and as a result, I didn't play any of it. And I'm glad I didn't put any money into that game, considering it went on to embrace fucking NFTs. Either way, looking at this mountain of DLC makes me despair. Oh look, there's Ghostface from Scream. It's not very special. None of this is special. Not no more. It's the same problem I've discussed in the past, modern media's obsession with multiverses and crossovers, to the point that what were once huge events are now mundane affairs. It's like I say about WWE and its cringe-some contrivances, if everything is a WrestleMania moment, TM, nothing is a WrestleMania moment. It just becomes WrestleMania again, for the extraordinary is now plain ordinary. But I guess when it comes to killing my enthusiasm, the game industry is the most brutal slasher around. Now can I please have a Puppet Master game that isn't this?
Oh! Oh! Here I come!
Anyway, that's enough of all of that shit. Me and Buckets will see you next week. Yes, Buckets is a regular fixture. Admittedly, it's got more charisma than I do. Say goodbye, Buckets, and say our famous catchphrase. Yeah,